So let's talk about personal injury documentation and specifically the importance of subjective versus objective documentation. And this is very important, more so in personal injury, because you have to, you not only have to quantify as much of the data as possible. That's a big key word in chiropractic. There's some major keywords. One is personal injury. Quantify is a big one. Scientific is a big one. Subjective and objective are big ones. Those are big words, very important words, more so than if you have a general family practice. So in the subjective portion, it's based on or influenced by personal feelings, taste, or opinions. So that's the subjective. And the objective is not influenced by personal feelings, opinions, in considering or representing the facts. And so what's the reason you need to know this? You need to know the relativeness of this is what you need to know for. It's the relativeness of subjective versus objective. And this is very, very important, especially with minor impact soft tissue injuries, number one, because they're harder to document, generally speaking. They're harder to document from a objective standpoint. That's the big problem with soft tissue injuries. Broken bones are easy. And what's sad about it is typically you break a long bone as long as it's not in the joint, and 4 to 6 weeks later it's healed. You will not have any problems whatsoever with that broken bone. But everybody sees that it's a broken bone, and everybody can relate to a broken bone, and so a broken bone typically will get more money than a soft tissue injury. Well, the soft tissue injury, especially in the joints, will almost definitely alter joint function and cause altered orthokinematics, and it's the beginning stages of arthritis. And in other words, it becomes a permanent problem. It becomes a permanent problem, and it affects people the rest of their lives, where the broken bone heals and goes away. So juries will naturally give more money to a broken bone than a soft tissue injury, and that is only if you cannot show it. And so that's why understanding the difference between subjective and objective is so important in minor impact soft tissue injuries. And the more objective, the better, but it's basically accumulation. So what is the personal injury documentation goal? It's to use multiple forms of subjective and scientific objective documentation, which correlates and leads to an obvious and logical conclusion. So you want the spectrum. You're already going to get the subjective part is not the hard part. That's the easy part, but the bad news is if you just have subjective information and you do not have any objective information, you got a really bad case. And it's going to be very easy to defeat your case in court. And so that's why learning some of these objective documentation tools are vital in treating the minor impact soft tissue injury case, which is the chiropractic personal injury case.